But yeah, as people funnel in, what's going on, everybody? Today, we're going to be digesting some very interesting information, talking about traditional financial players integrating themselves into the DeFi ecosystem, proving to you guys that for a fact, traditional finance is interested in DeFi lending, borrowing, staking, earning yield, which is why myself and Mr. Aqua have stressed the importance of educating yourself in the now on how to start earning on your digital assets. We all know that we are entering into a massive digital transformation. We're on the forefront of artificial intelligence replacing jobs over the next consecutive couple of years at a rapid pace. And these digital assets could be earning you passive income in the now, growing your long term bags, or just paying you out daily. But it requires proper education first, a mature approach. You can't just come into the space just like trading and investing and think you're going to make it out successfully. The market will 110% eat and destroy your capital. So it's always been my goal and Mr. Aqua's goal to educate people and just show you all that behind the scenes, traditional financial players are 110% interested in not only crypto and digital assets, but also in earning yield on their digital assets, which is why we stress that you all should be interested in that as well. Follow the money, right? So we're going to be jumping into some DeFi topics. We're going to be talking about Link today. Again, none of this is financial advice. It's a project that I'm currently and actively invested in. I hold quite a significant amount of Link. I just recently bought over this last recent market downturn, a significant amount since we've been in a discounted environment. So I just wanted to mention that even though we're going to be talking about Link, none of it's financial advice. And obviously, of course, the performance of Link over the next whatever couple of months last year is potentially the next bull market cycle is up for debate. So to each his own, do your own personal research. But some of the information that myself and Mr. Aqua are going to share with you guys today is extremely, extremely interesting. And I'd say that is going readily unnoticed, considering the amount of views that these video clips that I'm going to share with you all have today. It just shows that yet again here at CYPRX, we are at the forefront of this research, tapping into information that not a lot of people are tapped into. So yeah, anyways, Mr. Aqua, how are you feeling today, bro?
Man, I'm feeling good, brother. Feeling really good. Just staying tapped in, staying locked in. And this week was a week all about Chainlink for me as well. I'll have to say I was sleeping on Chainlink, but after educating myself on this, on this project and what it's doing and what it has done for DeFi, boy, I started dollar cost averaging in Monday. So yeah,
Absolutely.
not financial advice.
I mean, at the end of the day, man, it's all good for us to take initiative and seek opportunity and diversify our portfolio. I think that people that are taking advantage of opportunities in the now, considering that a lot of these altcoins are still over 70% discounted from their all-time highs, it's monumental, man. And over the next consecutive couple of years, we're going to see some fireworks kick off. So I want to start off the video today. I want to play a video clip from an individual named Natin Guar. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I just want to show you guys his credentials so that way you all understand the perspectives from these individuals are coming from industry-leading experts that have, I'd say, guaranteed more credentials than anybody on the internet right now in crypto that's giving you their little opinion about Chainlink and price action or any other digital asset, right? So this individual was global head of digital assets and technology design at State Street. If you're not too familiar with what State Street is, go do your research on that. Down here, it also mentions that he was the founder at IBM Digital Assets Lab. Now, IBM, if you're not too familiar, runs about 85% of the financial infrastructure's mainframe right now on a global scale. And he worked there for 22 years, as you can see right here. So, and he was the director, IBM Financial Science and Digital Assets. So I'd say that his opinion or what he says is quite important to be paying attention to. And so we're going to start off by listening to him mention that traditional finance will find their way into the DeFi ecosystem through ETFs. And this is going to coexist with something that another panelist and the CEO of Franklin Templeton mentions: financial institutions taking up an interest in staking through ETFs. Jenny Johnson on stage at a SALT conference just a couple of weeks ago mentioning that financial institutions and regulators are going to be interested in staking. Staking, obviously, of course, earning yield on your digital assets at the end of the day. I mean, there's a whole like in-depth synopsis that we could go into on what staking is and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's DeFi. Okay. And so just take a second. We're going to listen to what this gentleman has to say here. And what I'm going to show you guys today is that not only are financial institutions heavily interested in jumping into this DeFi space when it's obviously, of course, regulatory compliant and able to handle the large amount of capital that these financial institutions are going to onboard into the space. But that Link or Chainlink is going to be at the forefront of this technological transformation. All right. So let's just take a second and listen to what this gentleman here has to say. And then we're going to play a couple of video clips after. And then Mr. Aqua is going to share some juicy information as well. So just take a second and let's listen. Let me know, by the way, Mr. Aqua, if you can hear me. I'm going to mute my mic because I've been noticing an echo when I play this. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear after I mute my mic when I play this.
Okay.
Was a very enriching experience. And now, just for the audiences, I call it in stealth mode, but I firmly believe that the industry itself is emerging. So DeFi crypto industry for the past 15 years of its evolution has gone to a point that it's big enough, and it began to intersect with the traditional finance. And that intersection today is seen at the instrument class, which is ETFs and some level of wrappers that come into the traditional finance to provide the comfort level that traditional finance needs from its prudential treatment of assets and fiduciary responsibilities as banks have. But I believe there's a lot more to happen in the space, which is why I'm hoping to discuss that today, both in terms of what Paul, me and you have discussed for hours at times as to what that infrastructure should look like. But also, I think I have broadly defined the industry into 3 I's, which is infrastructure needed to make all this work, instruments, which is how do the existing instruments need to be tokenized, which is an RWA, the real world asset conversation, but at the same time, there's a huge emerging class of crypto assets that needs to intersect with this world. Second thing is insights, which is not just.
Thank you so much. Largely speaking, just in a nutshell, what he mentioned, right, is that he sees the DeFi ecosystem large enough now to integrate or intersect into traditional finance. And he mentioned staking through ETFs. Okay, that plays a significant portion of this particular video breakdown because in another video clip here, we're going to share screen. And I want to play another video clip for you guys where a gentleman on stage says the same exact thing, that from his perspective, the entrance of traditional finance into the DeFi ecosystem is going to be through these ETF wrappers where these traditional financial players can stake through these ETFs. So let's take a second and let's listen to what this gentleman has to say. Give me a second. And let me just find the video clip here. I have so many notes. All right. So 8 minutes and 11 seconds. And listen to what this gentleman here has to say.
World and potentially some of the opportunities there?
Yeah, I think the crypto ETFs were, so far we've got Bitcoin and Ethereum out as publicly available ETFs. Really kind of a watershed moment for the industry in that these approvals came through in a way, like you mentioned, that was, had to do with our separation of powers, really. The lawsuits that were filed by industry participants kind of forced the hand of the SEC, and now the products are out. And as there's no surprise to anyone in the industry, they had incredible amount of pent up demand. I think some people have said that the Bitcoin ETFs, the ETH ETFs, actually created the demand. My point of view is that the demand was always there. There were huge number of institutional investors who wanted a product to be available within something like the ETF wrapper, easier to understand settlements, easier to understand how to pay for it and get into that position. And that was just going to be the right mechanism for a whole class of investors to be able to participate. And so now with that seal broken, we can chart the path forward where you start to say, okay, are we going to continue to have a series of single asset ETFs? Is every token going to get an ETF, or over time, are we going to start to see diversification strategies? I mean, in large part, the point of the ETF vehicle is to combine a set of investment strategies and make that available. And so I'm really excited for what the future holds around starting to see income generating ETFs, like that might be able to come from the staking assets being allowed to stake within those products. And then moving forward, capturing more and more of the opportunity that's available within digital assets.
much. I'll remember that next time. He mentioned income earning ETFs, right? The ability for these financial institutions to come in and stake. Now, let me show you guys that this is already happening via large financial institutions like Franklin Templeton. And this is going to full circle, taking into consideration something that the co-founder of Chainlink mentions, and that they were partnered with just a couple of months ago. So let's just take a second and let's listen to the CEO of Franklin Templeton mention that they're already taking advantage of these things, and that from her perspective, Jenny Johnson, she believes that regulators are going to be interested in taking advantage of these staking platforms, which is just monumental to hear, considering the fact that a lot of people in crypto right now are sidelining themselves, not getting involved in DeFi because it's unregulated. Yet here is a financial institutional player that is heavily involved in the digital asset ecosystem saying on stage, and you can assume who her audience is, right? Whole bunch of, market participants, industry leading experts, probably regulators there. She openly says that she thinks regulators are going to be interested in staking. So take a second and listen to what she says here.
One of the things that you touched on is the fact that you guys don't outsource most activities within the firm. You try to build when it's possible and makes sense. You try to build yourself. And Franklin Templeton, I think people don't, or at least I didn't have a full understanding of this before we prepared for this conversation around everything you guys are building. You're building wallet infrastructure, you're building transfer agency infrastructure, and you're running node operations, and you're participating in staking. Could you just talk about the full breadth of what you guys are building there at Franklin Templeton across your digital asset activities?
Sure. And actually, I'd correct you. My view is you should outsource it if it's essentially a commodity. The reason we ran our own transfer agency system historically is Templeton was really the first global investment management firm. And we were in all these markets that the service providers weren't in. And so we had to run and build the capabilities there. And so we ended up building this huge infrastructure. We have now actually made the decision to outsource that recently because honestly, the service providers have now caught up on that. However, when you come into the digital asset space, when we were first looking to launch the tokenized money market fund, there weren't service providers out there. So we said, okay, we need to build this. And then as I mentioned earlier on staking, look, I think if you're going to be participating in this space, people are going to have to be staking. It's going to be part of how you're doing it. I think regulators are going to end up staking because they're going to look at it and say, wow, this gives me unbelievable transparency into the transactions. If I need to regulate, the best way to do it would be to be staking on these platforms. This is where I think the regulator.
So, I don't know what other proof to show people that financial institutions are 110% interested in earning yield on their digital assets. I mean, it's monumental to see a video breakdown like this, but crazy that it only has 311 views, which just goes to show and prove mine and Mr. Aqua's point that not a lot of people are paying attention to DeFi. DeFi is probably one of the number one things that people are sleeping on in the crypto asset ecosystem. And it's the ability for their digital assets, their commodities, like Jenny Johnson said, if it's a commodity, you should be outsourcing it, right, to earn yield on it. That people are sleeping on that ability. It's like most people in crypto don't even know that they can do that. And then when they hear that they can do that, they're like, oh, it's a scam, blah, 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 right? So yet again, myself and Mr. Aqua always just trying to provide the realest information for you guys. Let's transition. Let's take a second. And after digesting all the information, I want to play a video clip from 2 days ago on the Chainlink YouTube page, where Sergey, the co-founder of Chainlink, goes on to mention that they are at the head of this DeFi, TradFi integration that they've processed trillions of dollars over the past consecutive couple of years, so on and so forth. But just listen to how this gentleman here, again, the co-founder of Chainlink, mentions that they are at the forefront of DeFi. Take a second and let's listen to what he says here.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you. So generally speaking, Chainlink came out of the DeFi boom, and it helped grow DeFi from a sub $100 million industry to over $200 billion by providing the critical data and other resources needed. So Chainlink kind of grew out of various mistrust issues by society and the need for oracles and smart contracts to come together and solve those trust issues in the form of DeFi. This has led to Chainlink enabling over $15 trillion in transaction value which makes it one of the most value processing systems in the entire blockchain industry. Now there's a new component to what Chainlink does, which is basically the ability for real-world assets and next-generation DeFi applications to reinvent the global financial system, which is really crypto and blockchains and smart contracts reaching their full potential. So now what Chainlink has.
Okay, so I just wanted to pause it there. I wanted you all to hear why I'm even talking about Chainlink. I started this off discussing and talking about DeFi and traditional financial players like Franklin Templeton mentioning on stage they are 110% interested in DeFi because Sergey just mentioned that they've been at the forefront of DeFi, that Chainlink was literally birthed in the DeFi boom, okay? And that they've helped take the DeFi ecosystem from where it was to $200 billion. That is such a significant amount of money that a lot of people that obviously, of course, are in crypto can't even comprehend that that has happened in DeFi. Most people don't even know. If you ask them, hey, what's the DeFi ecosystem sitting at right now in the crypto ecosystem, right? Most people don't even know how to answer that question. Take that into consideration that the DeFi ecosystem is projected to reach trillions of dollars by 2030, right? There's so much room for growth, and Chainlink, after what I'm going to show you guys today, in my personal opinion, is going to be at the forefront of that continued adoption. So this next series of video clips and documentation that I'm going to provide for you guys is going to blow your mind. We're going to be paying attention. All my followers, you guys know that I'm very keen on vocabulary. There's 3 vocabulary words I want you guys to pay attention to, and that is interoperability, data, and record keeping. Okay, those 3 words, interoperability, data, and record keeping. And then I'm going to show you guys how the terminology bridge, or being a bridge asset or a bridge system, is exactly what Chainlink is doing, right? So watch this gentleman here. We're going to go back to this guy, the gentleman from IBM. Okay, give me a second. Let's share screen so you can hear this. The gentleman, Natin Gouar, again, 22 years at IBM, keeping in mind that IBM runs about 85% of the world's financial infrastructure right now as we speak. So I'd say that his opinion and the things that he says are pretty important. He mentions these 3 vocabulary words, interoperability, data, and record keeping, and that these traditional financial players are going to need all of these things along with a bridge mechanism to connect all of these systems together. And then we're going to go back to a document from the DTCC in a partnership that collaborated with Chainlink, where they mentioned the same exact vocabulary word for word. That is not, it cannot be a mistake, right? That a gentleman on a panel discussion from July 4th, 2024, that has 44 views, mentioned the same exact 3 vocab words, solving a problem in a trial that Chainlink collaborated with the DTCC in. You guys see what I'm saying? So I'm going to try and show you guys that Chainlink is at the forefront of this stuff. So let's just take a second and let's listen to what this gentleman here has to say.
No, absolutely. There's 2 things in this. I actually wrote extensively about this, Paul. I think you bring up a really good point because, so there are 2 elements, right? One is we have focused heavily on interoperability because at the end of the day, just like us, when we interact with our broker dealers or some Charles Schwab or Fidelity, the front end of the whole thing, we execute a trade. And we don't care how it interfaces with the rest of the infrastructure or the market ecosystem that provides the demand and supply and deployment of capital and everything else. And what I wrote about this topic was 2-fold. One is there's an interoperability challenge, which is between the Ethereum and Solana, all the layers 1 who are competing to get everybody's transaction. Now it's Solana, Ethereum are the dominant ones. Bitcoin is on its own sort of class of being the store of value and evolving as competing with the likes of gold and everything else as an asset class. But you have all these layer 1s which do one simple thing. They provide settlement layer, which our US dollar system provides to the world and to the and to Americans. But then this various layer 2, layer 3 are trying to solve the problem of scalability or security, and that leads to additional asset classes that get born in that system. So now we're dealing with interoperability, not just between the various layer 2, layer 1, and bridging techniques to say, how do I ensure that if I'm moving an asset from Ethereum to Solana, which in today's world we don't care because we have systems in place to transfer value, albeit it's expensive, it takes time, it's laden with all kinds of challenges, but it's doable. But when you bring this crypto ecosystem to the traditional financial world, we have another burden of interoperability because now have to interoperate with the old ledgering system. So the way I've seen is the likes of BlackRock and State Street and you name the entity, JP Morgan, if they were to deal with digital assets, while blockchain is a ledger system, as you know, Paul, it still is not a system of record, because the system of record in banking and financial system is tied to is essentially tied around the regulation. So cash management, treasury management systems, multiple accounting book of records. These systems govern a bank. They run the bank because there are risk models, as you know, there's the stress test that we all know about, and the reporting requirement. These reporting requirements come from these systems. And so from that point of view, you cannot rely on the system of record that blockchain contains. So you need a bridging technique that allows you to be able to. So to me, there are two challenges that financial systems need to solve for. One is interoperability between the old and the new, the old ledgering system and the new ledgering system. And second challenge, I would say, is around the operation framework. At the end of the day, if you look at the existing financial systems, they are massive amount of stuff goes into operations. That's what they do. In fact, I don't think banks deal with money anymore. Banks are essentially a massive data processing engines which keep track of how much you own and preserve your ownership records. And they need massive ends of operations to ensure that they're providing you accurate information, one, because it's a legal requirement. The second thing is it's essential to the financial system to preserve the record of ownership, which we take it for granted in crypto ecosystem. So there's a little bit of mismatch between those two.
So long story short, he mentions data, record keeping, and interoperability. Those are the three vocabulary words I wanted you guys to fixate your attention on, because watch what I'm going to show you guys. And don't forget, he mentioned that these large financial institutions are going to need a bridging mechanism, right? So I'm going to lead to playing a video clip of Sergey, or Sergey, however you say his name, mentioning that that is exactly what Chainlink is. But let me blow your mind, because keep in mind the key vocabulary words that this gentleman just said: data collection, record keeping, and interoperability, right? It's not a freaking coincidence, people. This is the type of research that not a lot of people are doing, which is why Chainlink, in my personal opinion, is going to be one of the key enablers of this new digital infrastructure. And they're going to be a survivor and a player that is going to withstand the test of time. So check this out. This is a partnership, a trial from the DTCC. This is from May 2024. Smart Nav pilot report, bringing trusted data to the blockchain ecosystem. Okay, we're just going to read a little bit about this so that way you guys can see how monumental this is. As a trusted financial market infrastructure, FMI, and partner to financial market participants for over 50 years, the DTCC is well positioned to support the industry's ongoing exploration of digital assets and their application in financial services. As part of this exploration, the DTCC developed a new pilot, SmartNav, which leveraged the DTCC's digital asset capabilities as well as Chainlink, a leading technology platform for cross-chain interoperability and blockchain abstraction. The pilot was designed to explore an extension of the DTC service, Mutual Fund Profile Service, the industry standard for transmitting price and rate data, referred to as NAV data, in recognition of increasing industry attention on mutual fund tokenization. The DTCC identified an opportunity for on-chain price and rate data that can serve as a key enabler to exploration of new initiatives. Taking a chain-agnostic approach, the ability to disseminate the NAV data across virtually any blockchain would be a key to enable other use cases to build atop smart contract NAV foundations. So it literally says right here to move data across virtually any blockchain. And what did the gentleman say? That they need a bridge mechanism, right? Keep that in mind, because look right down here. It says specifically what the SmartNav pilot does. I highlighted all the key vocabulary word, right? Here's data. Here's interoperability. Here's record keeping. That is literally word for word what the gentleman back on July 4th, that has 22 years at IBM, said that these traditional financial players need to see in order for them to onboard into this DeFi ecosystem. You heard Sergey mention that they've been at the forefront of DeFi adoption, and look at what this whole entire pilot solves. A validated model for user interface and applications that leverage on-chain data, establishes automation of data routing through smart contracts to create dynamic data management cross lifecycle of assets. It promotes a model that prevents future fragmentation through the uses of Chainlink's cross-chain interoperability. It enables clients to retrieve historical price and rate data without manual record keeping, Like, do you all see what I'm showing you all right now? This is literally not freaking coincidence. This is word for word the problem that the gentleman with 22 years of IBM experience mentioned that traditional financials need to see solved, and Chainlink right here is partnering with the DTCC to solve this. I mean, it doesn't get any clearer than this, people. Okay. So, considering what the gentleman said about financial institutions needing a bridging mechanism, and just to revert back to Jenny Johnson mentioning that they are interested in staking, i.e. DeFi, and so are the regulators, well, look at who was involved in this whole entire thing. Franklin Templeton, right? They're all tapped in, people. They're all tapped in. You cannot make this stuff up. Oh, and would you look at this? State Street was also involved in this. If we go back to the gentleman's credentials, Naive Guar, whatever his name is, right? Where did he work at? He worked at State Street, right? I'm telling y'all this stuff, man, this is the type of stuff that people are not showing you guys. So keep in mind that the gentleman mentioned bridging mechanism. Now I'm going to play one last video clip of Sergey mentioning that that's exactly what Chainlink is. So just give me a second. Let me find it real fast for you guys. By the way, if you're listening to this as a recording later on, because I will be uploading this to YouTube, do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe. If you are a follower of mine, make sure that you guys go give Mr. Aqua a follow on the X space. And if you're a follower of Mr. Aqua's, do me a favor, head over to my X profile on my YouTube and give me a follow. Mr. Aqua's also got a YouTube. All his links are in his X profile bio. So let's just take a second and let's listen to Sergey mention that literally that's what Chainlink is. It's a bridging mechanism, an interoperable layer solution that helps these financial institutions manage data and record keeping. Listen to what he says here.
About how you have critical data that can come from widely used systems like the DTCC into various networks that require that data to make more advanced Tradfi applications. The next problem is actually cross-chain connectivity. So it's not only about getting the data into the blockchain and into the smart contracts, it's getting the data to move across the different blockchains by connecting the token from one chain to another chain.
Like, do you guys hear what he just said? The problem is connecting one chain to another chain, i.e. the bridging mechanism. Remember what the guy said, Naive or whatever his name, Guar, hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly. God help me, right? He mentioned that these financial institutions need a bridging mechanism. Listen to what he says again that Chainlink is doing.
This is actually the next big problem in TradFi, and it's already a problem being solved by Chainlink in Web3. It's the ability to get the liquidity and the value from various chains into the chain where the asset is. But you need to solve this problem in a way where data consistently flows into the blockchain smart contracts. So this problem is also actively being solved by Chainlink and CCIP right now by doing POC pilot and soon production transactions that enable the movement of value, both in the form of payment as stablecoin and in the form of assets. In this case, a carbon credit for a trillion asset under management bank. This is a great example of what you're going to see more and more in the TradFi world. It's going to be the movement of stablecoins in a delivery versus payment transaction in return for some asset on another chain. And this is the other thing that CCIP and Chainlink is enabling.
So long story short, he just confirmed that Chainlink is that bridging mechanism, right? They're that interoperable layer solution that the gentleman with, 22 years at IBM and State Street experience was talking about. Record keeping, data, interoperability, the bridging solution, right? And Chainlink just said on stage that they're already doing that for $1 trillion asset under management bank. Okay. And that it's only going to continue to scale from there. So I rest my case. That is why I'm interested and heavily invested in Chainlink. And it is a major addition, in my personal opinion, to my long-term portfolio. Again, not financial advice, but this just goes to show the level and the extent of the research that we do here at CYPRX. We don't just invest in a digital asset because we think it's going to go all-time high, blah, 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 bullish moon boy bullcrap. No, we actually sit here, and the vast majority of these video breakdowns that I just showed you guys have, except for this one, barely over 100 views. right? So I'll pass the sticks to Mr. Aqua. I know that he wanted to tap into some of the information that Sergey announced here, and I'll, give the green light to you, my friend.